We are a very strange brand. We're quite different in different countries, and we have presences in places that are completely unexpected. Despite being a boot brand, we're the biggest seller of sandals in Vietnam. So we've got some kind of interesting opportunities. And we could potentially choose some quite peculiar places. So we had a look at Belarus. I've been to Belarus actually for a different client, but I've been to Belarus. Very, very strange country. It's a place that's been apparently designed by its IT department. It's full of fantastic features that nobody wants. And one of those features is it's actually a great place to do e-commerce. High internet penetration, very literate population, good penetration of payment, all the kind of good things that Tony Stoker was talking about earlier. There's just one snag. A Belarusian citizen who buys on a non-Belarusian website for a value of more than $100 goes to prison. So we kind of ruled that one out. So that didn't really work for us. Next question for us is how we're going to get the shoes there. Our complication is that despite what some of the speakers have been saying about doing the full range in different countries, that's not actually practical for us. We sell sandals in hot countries, we sell boots in cold countries, our Wellingtons don't work in the UK for reasons we don't understand, but they're fantastic in Scandinavia. So we actually have a huge challenge, which is our range is never going to be consistent from country to country. So we're looking at the moment trying to work out how we can have a core range that we ship everywhere, and then a long tail range that we will have to ship from a few locations with all the consequences in terms of customer service, shipping costs, impact on the P&L, and so on.
Thank you all. So the first thing that I want to do is set the stage here and just talk a little bit about just the platform and where you started your e-commerce endeavors.
So from a business point of view, we are very committed to e-commerce. And from e-commerce and having now got that basis right for us, it's then the move towards multi-channel, which I think we've seen a lot on the high street, and you do see in luxury retailers as well. But it's a huge opportunity for us going forward. And I think having now got a really solid international multi-channel platform under our belt that's up and running, that works across multiple devices for desktop, mobile and tablet, that we're now, without that, we just wouldn't be set for the future. And now I think as a business, we really feel that we are set for the future. So it's really interesting when you talk about different customers across different channels. Our social media customer that we see across Facebook and Twitter is completely different to the customer that we see on a tablet, that we see on a desktop. But one thing that is fundamental that we always remember and that I'm always driving home is that from a customer's point of view, which is the most important point of view, we are just one brand. Now, it doesn't matter whether you're the social media customer and you're the younger customer, or you're the mobile customer who's always on the go, or you're the tablet customer who's on their iPad in front of the TV, watching two forms of media all the time. But at the end of the day, we're just one brand. So I think one thing for us, whether it's, and add stores into that because it is a channel, but we can't be channel-centric. And as a business, every business, we are channel-centric. Yeah. So internally, we look at channels, we look at retail, we look at e-commerce, we look at mobile, we look at social media, we look at marketing and PR, and we're really, really channel-centric. Every day in the business, I hear about channel this, channel that, but the customer doesn't care. We're just Jimmy Choo, and Jimmy Choo needs to offer that same experience across all of the channels, despite what channel you're on, whether it's retail, whether it's e-commerce.
So what would you suggest, and what would be some of the tips, and how have you actually infiltrated some of those markets, and what was that initial team that you put into place, and then how do you actually grow that team?
We are going into markets with a very small team. So in France, we went in with a team of one, but with the absolute precept, which I think Lindsay spelled out earlier, that it has to be local. We can't sit in a small village in Northamptonshire in the middle of England, which is where we're based, and know what's going on in Japan or what's going on in, I don't know, Poland or somewhere. It's just not sensible to try to do that. So we are absolutely going in with a strategy that says central functions are central functions, slightly different mix from what Lindsay showed in her thing, but essentially the same principles. And local. So
who are those people? Are they marketing folks? Are they merchandisers? Are they market experts?
The kind of strategy, for want of a better term, because a lot of it's still in progress, is trading should be local, customer service should be local, fulfillment should be as close to the customer as we can logistically manage to do it. And then the obvious basics, it's got to be in the local language, it's got to have local terms and conditions, it's got to be appear to be fulfilled from a local place, even if it actually isn't, and so on. One needs to be aware what the proposition needs to be in different countries. I've done work not for Dr. Martens in the Ukraine recently, and the expectation in Kiev is 3 hours from click to delivery. And that is the benchmark. And in that case, there's only really one way to do it, which is a mixed fulfillment model. It's not practical to put the warehouse at the other end of the Ukraine and ship through. That is the customer expectation. If you don't hit that customer expectation, well, that's not e-commerce as they see it.
But it's a real challenge. There's a lot of pressures because as international brands, as global brands, as we are, there's a lot of pressure from different countries, different regions. We need, but we're different, but we need this, we need that. So, so how do you kind of, be global and act local? And these are some tough decisions, and I think it's Tony who said it. He said it really takes a tough decision from the top, from the CEO, to determine, because you have all these forces pulling you, in every direction. And in a way, so we found a solution with our brick and mortar stores over time, because we're in business for a long time with brick and mortar, but with e-commerce still a new space. And how do you balance? Because you have to find a balance. If you start localizing to a degree, it's 3 hours, 3 days, high heel, low heel, slim, whatever. And it's tough, and so to some extent you have to localize, I'm not saying, but it's really, I think we're still going through some of those motions now to figure out what does a global brand look like online around the world.
Great. What is the biggest challenge that you faced internationally, and what would be the tip that you would quickly give to solving that challenge?
The biggest tip's very straightforward. Never ever go to a country that you haven't visited personally, preferably in the company of a local.
Great.
Well, the biggest challenge is when we talk about 360 integration, is the biggest obstacle I've come across is to be able to do that, you need to be able to be tied into the POS and all the regional, local networks, retail networks, and you discover that in different regions you have different scenarios how they work. So integration, 360 integration is a really, really tough challenge.
It was like 33 seconds, but that's okay.
Sorry.
Lindsay.
For me, it's localization. If you haven't committed and you haven't got it, there's not one thing. This is my problem. So I think you can put something in and you can know strategically that there are these 10 things I have to do, and if you only do 5, you'll see 50% of conversion. But if I had to pick one that I've never seen be so powerful, I mentioned earlier, it would be payment types. And they are tricky, and they are costly, and the integration is painful. But I honestly would urge you to say, don't skimp on them, and don't think that your customer will just pull out a credit card, especially across Europe. And if you're looking at Russia or if you're looking at anywhere in Asia, they won't.